was never going to be a men's physique.
Didn't have much of an off season.
I like his physique better.
I'm always very energetic. I will have to put me as one of the greatest.
Mr. Olympia was won by the back.
So let's talk about Classic, your division.
Yes.
How did you? Obviously, Chris Bumstead is now a two-time Mr. Olympia. At one point, I thought Breon was unbeatable. You know, he was a very dominant champion. Now, 2 years in a row now, Chris is victorious. How did you feel about this 2020 Olympia specifically and his win?
Chris deserved it, man. I don't think it was no disrespect to anybody else, but I think he took it hands down. I don't think it was a very close competition. You know, I think Chris was in a league of his own. I think he looked great. And I'm the first one to say this, you know, last year, the year before, Chris will say this himself. Chris is not the most complete. Chris had a weak back. He had high insertion arms. His chest wasn't that strong. You know, Breon and George were two of the most complete Classic guys, more like, you know, checklists off of bodybuilding. They're more complete. But how did he win? Because overall he had this nice, pleasing flow, and he won X amount of shots. This year he evolved. You know, he just took it to another level. I think he really, truly grew and blossomed, as tacky as that sounds, mentally as an athlete. That's what a lot of guys don't see. That they just see what you look on the stage and oh, he probably ate more food. He probably took more drugs. You know what I mean? And I think Chris just grew up and became more of a man, and he really his prep and his intensity for this Olympia, I think, was just on another level. You know, for someone at our level to make that much of a leap in his back that he did is very difficult. You don't see that at our level. I know he's young, so he has that on his side. He's still very young and he can still grow and develop. But for the most part, you don't see guys in top 5, top 10 Olympias make such huge, drastic changes in 1 year. So for his back, which was honestly, it was not a top 5 back last year, you know, and again, I'm not being disrespectful. He knows this himself. He made a tremendous, tremendous improvement. Like, it was very impressive. I took a double take. I was like, holy, you know, I think Chris deserved it. And I think he's a hard guy to beat. And the rest of the lineup, I think everybody looked great. I think Breon is a phenomenal bodybuilder. Breon and George are both amazing bodybuilders. And the reason George went to 212 is he just realized he's getting better and better and better, but they're not giving him the placing, you know. He didn't have the overall, I hate to say the look that they want, because I don't believe that they're going to reward a certain look if somebody's not a good bodybuilder. You can't just have a look and win. You have to be a good bodybuilder. And, you know, I spoke to some people and some of the big judges after the show, and they said, listen, Breon was off. If Breon wasn't off, he could have won the show. It wasn't like no matter what Breon does or anyone else or Terrence, Chris is going to win hands down. He's beatable. Chris is beatable just like any other.
Well, that's what Steve Weinberger told me, the same thing. But I'm still trying. And you know, Terrence got second place. But right now, I really want to focus on comparing, you know, Chris to Breon. Right? Like they so different. You know what I mean? Like the physiques are very different. They said that Breon was off. I want to understand exactly what that means when they say he's off. You know, Steve broke it down in an interview for us, but. For you, from the fan perspective, right? How was he off, and how do you compare the two, right? It's just such a to me, it's very difficult, and I feel like going forward, I feel like Chris still has the look maybe that they're going for, which is the taller, slimmer, you know, look, whereas Breon has the more muscularity, maybe, you know.
I don't think it has to do with height. You know, Chris is in a league of his own with the height. There's not a lot of guys with that height. I don't think it's the height. I would have to see their pictures right now side by side to tell you exactly what was off with Breon. But I remember seeing Breon, and I don't know if he was heavy or not, but my first thought was, oh, Breon's trying to play the size game, and he wasn't himself. He wasn't as sharp. He didn't look like that granite, crazy, detailed, shredded Breon that we know. He looked a little bit off. He just didn't look as sharp to me. And another factor is his stage presence. I think Chris's confidence posing and stage presence was better. That's a huge factor. I think it was a lot better. And us as spectators and as fans, we look at the whole. We look at Chris Bumstead versus Breon. You can't do that. You can't do that. You have to look at shot by shot. You have to forget about Chris Bumstead and forget about Breon Ansley and what you think they look like, and look at the front double versus the front double, the side chest versus side chest, the back double. That's how you have to judge a show. You know, you look at them as individuals as a whole, you get confused. You get biased, you get confused, shit gets in the way. You got to look at shot by shot, you know? Like there's certain things that I could tell you I don't love about the way Chris poses this, the way I pose a certain thing, or the way Breon poses. Like I don't like Breon's front double and side chest, but I think he's a great bodybuilder. I think he has an incredible back double. These things come into play with the judges. What fans have to understand is you have to win shots and you have to gather points. It's not about coming out there and looking the best. I mean, it is to a certain degree. That came out bad, but it's not about coming out there alone on stage and just being like the big and ripped. You have to win the shots. There's been many shows where I see someone, I'm like, holy shit, that's the winner. But then when you see them next to everybody else shot for shot, you're like, you know what? He's kind of weak in this shot and weak in that shot. Next thing you know, he loses.
In the comparison rounds, yeah, for sure. No, I understand what you mean.
Absolutely.
But looking at it now, right, when you're gonna make your comeback next year, hopefully, whether on a Classic or Olympia, right? Let's look at it like you're gonna come back at Olympia, for example, right? And you pretty much have an idea, expectation what kind of style of Chris is gonna bring, and Breon. What do you think your place on the Classic stage is exactly? How do you feel like you're gonna compete, and what do you have to do to be competitive and to compete against those guys specifically?
I think I still haven't been at my best. I think I've been like, just since after 2016, 17, 18, 19, I've been off, man. And it's very frustrating, and no one gives a shit. And I'm not making excuses to the fans, but that's the fact. I've been off, and I'm not happy with any of my stage like packages, you know. The way that I looked this year after weigh-in and before weigh-in, I love. They're not Photoshopped, they're videos, they're real videos of what I looked like, and I think I looked great. But I struggle to make the weight, you know, and it drains me. So what I look like 2-3 weeks out, I have a hard time looking like on stage because I have to suck down so much and I get drained. So that's a big factor for me. My injuries and not training at 100% is another big factor. Putting those aside, look, I think I'm very well-rounded. I think I have a nice look, and I'm a well-rounded bodybuilder. I think my outer sweeps need to get bigger, which they – believe it or not, with my hip issue, I'm training lighter. Going back to the workout stuff that we were talking about, the training style, I'm training a lot lighter, and I feel like my quads are growing. So I'm not lifting as heavy because of my injury, but I feel like my legs are growing with the higher volume. I never did high volume for legs. So my lower back, I feel like I need more detail and thickness. If my lower back gets detail and thickness, my waist I've been working on has gotten smaller, and my outer quads, I think I'm a dangerous bodybuilder. I don't look at pictures of myself 17, 18, and 19 and say, oh, wow, I deserved better. I look at myself and I say, look, I'm not my best. I can improve a lot, and I keep coming in off after weigh-in. So I think I think if all those things come together and I'm able to train the way I want to train, I think I can be dangerous, and I think I could be back up there in that top 3.
You know, back in the day at Olympia, right, they used to do like an overall winner. There was like a lightweight Mr. Olympia, and then there was a heavyweight Mr. Olympia, and then it was an overall round. Do you feel like it's something like this can be possible now? If, let's say, they bring in, you know, the men's open, then they have, you know, Classic, and then they have 212, and then they battle on stage. Do you think that something like that can ever be interesting for the fans?
That's crazy. So there will only be one winner? I don't think so.
Like an overall.
That would be like on a little bit of side note, maybe like just like as a bonus. But 212 and open, yeah, but Classic, and no, it just doesn't make sense. Like a Classic guy is like a toothpick compared to an open bodybuilder. There's like no comparison, you know?
I see what I guess you're right, 212 and
open maybe, yeah.
Because literally it's the same thing, it's just different weight. But it's the same, you know, same idea.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, just the weight cutoff. Weight cutoffs are hard, man. People don't realize it, people at home. It's hard. Unless you're under. Some guys are under. But for me, I'm always over. I have to lose like 10, 15 pounds in a sauna like a day before. It's not easy.
That's got to be tough, right? To do this in such a short amount of time.
It's exhausting physically and mentally. Like you get dizzy, you can't see straight. It's not a good thing to lose that much water. I don't recommend it. It's dangerous.